All righty, guys. Welcome back to another Node Nation AMA. I'm Mascot here alongside Riddick. We are excited to have the 100 Days team here to talk about their project, what they do, where they're going, and their battle plan to accomplish all that. So, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to them, let them introduce themselves, and go over what their project is, who they are, and what they do at 100 Days.
Sure. So a bit about myself here. Or let me start with the project itself. Our project essentially is an auto staking protocol with the basis of let's do something more for the space. Let's not have one endpoint or one singularity. Let's use the mechanics of reflections by Titano and Libero and all these projects that have done the framework for it, but let's innovate on it. Let's do more to the space and kind of create a whole ecosystem behind it to really further have utility and really have a greater message than kind of you have one product, you have one mission, and that's that. The core project is the auto staking project, but we're really looking to create a whole ecosystem of projects here and really do more than that. But a bit about myself is I am the founder of 100 Days along with my wonderful team here. I am currently enrolled at Princeton University. I'm a double major in neuroscience and financial engineering. So a bit about what financial engineering is. Essentially, financial engineering is it's basically crypto economics. It's the first real crypto-centric major here in the US. But to provide further context about myself, I am also the leader of a financial and neuroscience board in the greater Philadelphia area. Last year, we created a neuroclinical software and raised about $15 million of funding. And now we're kind of rolling that around to hospitals all across the US. But for me, is I've always had a passion for neurology. And the thing with neuro is it's also an emerging space. But the core centric piece being that it's very research driven and there's not a lot known against the popular belief here. But like crypto, both is the more you learn, the more you dive in, the more you realize how little you know. So for me, as with neuro, I dove right in to really understand the framework. And it was the same with crypto is let's go to every vertical, let's learn everything possible about each space, and let's think through what are the innovations possible, what works and what doesn't, and let's use that as a basis to really create something different and stand by ourselves and our nature of who we are and not hide behind anything. So that's really the core thing of what we're looking to do. I'm going to hand it off to Dermonte as well as Terrazone and kind of they can talk about what they do for this project and how we're all kind of coming here together.
Wonderful. Hey, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me okay. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you guys so much for having us. I'll be really brief. I've been in software development for the last 23 years, deploying enterprise technology built around efficiencies such as supply chain and traceability. Since 2014, really focused on bringing the world of blockchain to enterprise development. So I have the fortunate opportunity of working with companies like Microsoft, Mercedes, Google, et cetera, on data-driven solutions that really help the operations, but also bring things such as marketing and other technologies to the masses. So really sitting in the center of all of that. And around 2015, 2016, I really started looking at the world of DeFi as it pertains to laddering to what we were doing in the blockchain space. So as all of us fans of DeFi have been seeking for the ultimate smart contract to sink our teeth into. And with the 100 Days team and what we've been able to accomplish over here, we're excited to bring that to market. So thank you all, and it's great to be here.
Awesome.
And I'm going to follow up right after that. I'm Terrazone, Terror, Daryl, whatever you want to call me. Since we're completely out there, I respond to all. But a little bit about me. Obviously, you heard I'm a pediatric ICU nurse. I got into the crypto space relatively right before Ethereum hit about $600. So like this is like late 2020, December 2020-ish. And I really just was trading on the stock market using technical analysis features and really just trying to figure out other ways of financial investing and you know, growing my financial portfolio in some way or capacity, as we all do. And I ended up having the opportunity to work for a a project formerly known as Metaverse Pro, which was like an own fork on the Binance Smart Chain, and they ended up growing to about a 32,000 member community, to which I was the community manager of for a majority portion of that until I had my baby in January. So from that, I was able to really cultivate a culture of education and aspire and advocate for people in the community. And that's obviously what I do in my profession as a nurse, as Mascot knows. And I carry that level of education and focus and transparency over into 100 days here with the rest of my team. So that's a little bit about me.
Excellent. All good things to hear. It sounds like everybody's pretty well versed in a varying degree of fields, so it's always good to have people with multiple inputs from multiple backgrounds and just coming from a couple different professional areas. It's always really good to see. Thank you so much for that introduction. Let me go ahead and check the questions tab, see if there's any questions in there. Guys, feel free to put your questions in the AMA questions tab. So that being started, while people are writing up some stuff, you guys are on the Ethereum chain, correct?
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
I said, what chain are you guys operating on? It's Ethereum, isn't it?
No, we are actually based on the Avalanche Smart Chain.
Oh, good. I was about to dig in and be like, why would you do Ethereum in a time like this? Good stuff. It's always fearful when people come in. We've had a couple of projects come in and they're, we're on the Ethereum network. It's like, all right, yes. So how
we love Ethereum. So coming to Ethereum is we love Ethereum. We love a lot of chains, but really we feel that the Avalanche Smart Chain has the most upside, and we like a lot of the things they do. So that's kind of why we're there. But about our team here, we have four core members, which is myself, Daryl, Terrazone, Dermonte, which is Tommy, and X42, who is Rohit, who unfortunately could not join us today. But we also have a team of developers and a team of moderators, but we have a lot of layers. We have a lot on the development side. That's our core focus. So we have quite a team there.
Awesome.
About 8 developers.
Well, are they all
that's awesome.
or how many? What's the breakdown of those developers? As far as
so we have 5 core full-time developers as well as 3 supporting, but we have everything from front end, back end, UI, blockchain, smart integration, A to Z. We really have it all.
Gotcha. Well, good stuff. It's nice that you have a full stack team. It's hard to find. It's hard to find good devs in this space, man. It is absolutely crazy. So that's good to hear that you guys have a strong team there. So what's the game plan to compete with the rest of the Titano forks?
See, we're really using that mechanism to really branch off. We don't want to narrow ourselves to that space. We want to use that space to really grow a treasury, grow a product, and really do some innovating things a lot more than just what they're doing right now. They're centric of this reflections aspect. That's how they make their money. That's how they pay out their investors. That's how everything works. But we want to do a lot more than that. We want to have an NFT marketplace and a sweepstakes, and that's just the beginning. But our real vision is let's tap into the resources and the people we know, the connections we have, and really throughout a full incubator of projects, all under the 100 Days umbrella, that all the core mission of everything is to support this one core project on the financial side, as well as growing the 100 Days brand inevitably with that.
Gotcha. So I like that you had an astute answer to that. Especially you dig into kind of a curious territory whenever you get into conversations about projects that are sort of forks and derivatives, obviously, because everybody's first inherent question is, how are you going to do it better? How are you going to do it better? And it's easy to kind of blow smoke and say, well, we're just going to do this, but better, or be bigger or have different marketing. And it's kind of like blasé sort of answer. So when you hear something that's kind of distinct and astute, right, it really is akin to, wow, this project really has a strong and solid battle plan. I think that's something that's really important. So good quality answer there. Do you guys have any plans to dox, KYC, or implement multi-sig if you haven't already?
Really all of the above. We will certainly have multi-sig, but what we're looking to do differently in the space is we all have our public names, our reputations, and all of that on the line here. We all come with extensive backgrounds. But Reed not only just did a KYC or a doxing, we did a whole press release essentially who we are. So we are truly as open as can be. And that's a big thing of why we entered the space. We felt there's a lot of rug action, a lot of irregularity in how the space is managed. And even on a regulation standpoint, we understand that crypto right now is an unregulated market, but it would never say this way. It's not a question of will it happen, it's when. So we kind of took the approach of let's be a DOTS team, let's be as public as possible, and treat this like you would treat any other company and really do a lot there. But we are as publicly open as can be.
Well, beautiful. That is what I like to hear. And what was the decision behind that of like you said, kind of using your names and being so public off the get-go? Was that a difficult team decision? Because I know, especially when times get hard in crypto, if you've been around these parts of DeFi, it can be scary. And for a lot of projects, that's a bold move. What was the decision process like internally to getting the team on board with that decision as a group?
I would say there is a lot of difficult discussions we've had and a lot of troubles that we've had to solve through. But publicly doxing ourselves and being out in the open, that was the easiest one by far. There was no question of that. That was the mission of why we even started all of this. Was we felt that is what's missing here is everyone hides behind a profile photo, and that defines them. You have people that say one thing and do another, and that's great, but you can't have someone accountable when it's like that. There's no one to rely on. There's no one to believe in. So that was really, there's a lot of innovations and thoughts we had and great ideas. The core reason we entered the space was we felt that there was a misdirection in terms of who are the people behind the curtain? What are their intentions? What are they about? Why aren't they open? Why aren't they transparent? And that was a core reason for beginning this journey. So that was a no-brainer for us. That's very important to us to be as open as possible.
I also wanted to throw in there that I just put the link to that article that he's referencing that I wrote up. But we very much. It's almost in a way it's almost like I'll throw the name out there, either like an Andrew or Daniel Sesta or somebody, really out there in the space who puts their name on a project. People claim for his name in that regard and aspect. And though we may not be as renownedly known in the crypto space at this current moment, we believe that there's just a level of accountability that you can't artificiate hiding behind a PFP. You know what I mean? So that's that. We felt very strongly to put our names to it and hold ourselves accountable and not only do it when we have a successfully launched project, but do it before there's any real grounds of success or failure to mention, to really just let you know from day one, that's the level of transparency we're looking to come by. I know from my experience over at Metaverse Pro again, that, my level of transparency in the way in which I spoke with and talked to the community and kept as open and as forthcoming as possible with the information made it very easy for that community of a large amount of people to really just take in what was being said and come from it from a more humane perspective, versus when people feel like you're hiding stuff to begin with and then they start seeing the profit losses and stuff like that. I felt like that is where it spirals into people very quickly hesitant or quick to judge. I feel like if you're genuine and forthcoming from the gate, people are willing to, when there's up and downs and turbulence, look to you for answers. Don't get me wrong, they're not going to not hold you accountable. But I don't know that anybody's going to come with us with the pitchforks right away. And that's not the plan for us to have that in any capacity happen.
Yeah. Excellent. I love to hear it, man. It's good stuff. And thank you for taking the time to clarify on top of his comment. That's always, feel free to always clarify. So you've talked a little bit about the experience, you three professionally, but what's the experience like of your core developers and your Solidity team? What is their past experience, past projects in the DeFi space or not in the DeFi space that gives them an edge over other competing devs in the market?
Yeah, it's a great question. Maybe I'll take that one first, and my partners can chime in. So most of the crew that we have right now has been working with most of the blockchain development we've been doing is all in the enterprise space. So a lot of high critical data usage that's required there. So you're talking about internal data, you're talking about data that's required real time, that must be accurate. So I think first and foremost, when you look at the items that get deployed now, for the most part, you're not seeing a lot of mathematical issues, and the other beautiful thing here is that we're not dealing with these massive systems that require, countless hours of quality assurance and testing, but you still need laser eyes on all of those assets that get posted, that get, stored in repo, to go through the quality assurance and all the testing components that coincide with, financial deployment. So, the experience for taking the folks, and most of the guys on our team have been here for, on average, about 12 years. So we're able to leverage and utilize all of that quality and all of that deployment with this group. And then you've got a lot of younger guys and gals on the team as well who do a great job, helping to bridge the gap between developers and that communication and the marketing. If you left it to a dev to talk to everybody, man, we'd be in trouble. But it's kind of awesome in the sense that we're able to really leverage what's occurring from a gaming perspective. And a lot of our team also comes from this high impact gaming realm as well. But everybody has, for the most part, focused extensively on the internal enterprise side. As far as DeFi, our team are the folks that people come to get things built for themselves. So, without sharing too much about some of the other endeavors that we've been able to deliver for folks, we've got, a substantial amount of experience in that space, which is why we went with the methodology and the mechanics that Ursh, Daryl, myself, and the team have developed, is because we feel strongly about what we've seen fail in the past. Again, we might not be running it. It might not be a failure because of the things that we've done, but we know that areas from the tokenomics all the way down to the management side that have worked. So this is our opportunity to really say, we want to do this ourselves. We want to bring our own products to market now. And this is the right time.
Beautiful. Clean answer again. Excellent. Love to hear it. How much progress have you guys made on creating 100 days? Is the UI ready? Is the code all up to date and been optimized and audited by your internal team? And do you have a prospective launch date?
Sure. So as far as the code side, we actually spent a lot of time, and this is why we've kind of elongated this process so much, is we don't want to roll out with just one plan. We very thorough in our processing in terms of auditing. We internal audit, external audit, CertTech audit. We go through a lot of layers. Now, not all of those are done pre-launch. For instance, CertTech and things like that are post-launch scales, but we go through a very, very thorough internal process for that. So as far as UI, UX, are different things like Astro Sweepstakes or NFT Bank or NFT Marketplace and our other core projects that we were releasing throughout this time, I would say 80% of the bulk of that, if not more, is actually done. And that's a very thorough process, but we wanted to make sure that everything is done so we don't launch with just one thing. Now, everything will have a very extensive auditing time and things like that, so it'll take time. And we really want to roll out everything with caution to make sure it's up to par with our community. But most of everything is done as far as the core project here. Right now, we're freeze code. We're auditing that code to make sure it's up to par. But we are pretty much good there.
Well, excellent. Beautiful stuff, man. Good answer. Are you planning a pre-sale, seed sale, fair launch, stealth launch? What does that launch window and battle plan look like?
Sure. So a big aspect to us is let's have the most fair environment for our community of investors. Let's not do something like a whitelist, which incentivizes people to do things like your invites or just stay on a Discord for 10 hours and do a bunch of things that are essentially meaningless. They're hype, and now hype's important, but how to channel that. We believe that we want to have everything be as fair as possible. That's why we did not have a private round, and that is why we did not do a whitelist. But we will be having a pre-sale on April 15th. And a core part of our pre-sale is let's have it in the sense of it's a fair game for everyone, but let's also have some scarcity there. So we've decided to do a $1,050,000 pre-sale on April 15th, with each wallet only allowed to purchase $1,000 worth of Astro token. So really trying to keep that audience concise at first and really do things the right way. And from there, we will announce the launch date right after, but just making sure we're good there. But we will announce that shortly after. But our pre-sale will be April 15th.
Beautiful, April 15th.
And what's the pre-sale price?
The pre-sale price is going to be 0.08 of a dollar, so 0.8 of a penny. And then our launch price will be at a penny. And the reason why we did those numbers was, again, to, you hear the background where we're coming from. I come from stocks investing, stuff like that. And we didn't want to set ourselves up to be overvalued as far as our fundamentals are concerned right at launch. So we didn't put too much of a boost. There won't be any buy tax feature there for those that buy during pre-sale, and no price appreciation during that time. So it is still definitely the most advantageous point in which to make. But at least this way, then our community, new investors and things like that do not need to be super concerned with being the exit liquidity or the exit ramp for a bunch of, people who had the time and space to hound for a whitelist spot. So that was what we were aiming for.
Gotcha. Good stuff.
Awesome.
And
Nice.
is there any protections to give some security to those people that maybe buy in post whitelist or at public launch against whitelist and pre-sale dumping?
I would say, going back to my same answer, the sheer fact that, number one, we're going to prioritize most of the pre-sale liquidity that we receive into the liquidity pool that we would be establishing to ensure that there's not any tremendous impact from a pre-saler standpoint. I literally broke down the numbers and have it where it's less than 0.08% of anyone's maxed out wallet that would be able to kind of come in there and impact the liquidity pool that we will have at the initial launch price. And that's not even including everything else on top of that. So, excuse me, actually it's 0.15%. A little bit higher. I had the minimum 500 numbers in the chart there, but regardless, that was a very key point that we focused on. We wanted to make sure that what is distributed to any individual wallet, especially if people, we can't control if somebody has maximum wallets and they're trying to, manipulate the system in that capacity. But what we can control is how much is distributed across in each one, how much liquidity we put on onset, and then the fact that there's only a 20% bump from the pre-sale to the actual launch date and price gives us the most advantage to be able to control the safety net of new investors coming in. There's also a sell tax feature that will recontribute and redistribute itself back into the protocol, the liquidity, the investments, and as well as a burn fee, so we control that inflation. So keeping all of those features in mind, at the time of launch, we're hoping to create an environment where there's no real incentive to dump on the protocol right at launch, and it gives it the most chance to really establish its, fundamental value in the DeFi space.
And also understanding is there's volatility. We all know that exists, right? But it's how can you use volatility to really bolster your protocol and make it as healthy as possible. And that aspect of reflections, right? Knowing that when we launch, there will be, no matter what we do, and the pre-sale as fair as possible and the uptick is not that large, whether there's a huge price increase or a sell-off, what we've done is, at first, there's to have an increase in taxation, to have that be about 28 to 30%. And that way, that volatility, the protocol is benefiting from that. It's healthy. We're bolstering our treasury and growing that out. Because there's the foundation of, if we occur event and no an event is happening, is using everything possible to really make that as healthy for the protocol as possible.
Beautiful. Excellent answers, man. You guys are killing it. So, how did you guys come up with the title 100 Days? Is it based on ROI period? And also, what's the name of your token again, just so everyone can hear it in relation to the title of the project itself?
Sure. So the name of our token is Astro Token. Now, some background as to why we're called 100 Days. The theoretical concept here is the power of 100 days. What 100 days symbolizes in the education world and the job world, and the real world application to that is in the first 100 days of any new endeavor in life, those are the most impactful. That's where you learn the most, you realize the most, and you see, is this the right path for you? All of those things and markers are all really identifiable in the first 100 days. But now, kind of bringing that back to crypto and our origin in this space is, at first, we were looking to create a different NFT protocol. And the concept there was, let's have an ROI period of 100 days on a return on investment. But we have pivoted that idea a little bit and are refining that, and really we want to come out with that product with a bang, is that will be the first of its class. So that will be the core concept of why the 100 days is relevant. But the big picture here is a theory of 100 days and really the impact it has on the real world.
Gotcha. It's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that little tidbit of sort of philosophy and information there. That's kind of cool. So what prevention, we talked about a little bit about whitelist preventions and such from dumping on the market, with really making sure that they overall hold a very small share of the liquidable tokens. But what about 2, 3, 4 months down the line? What preventions are you guys putting in place against whales and bots of any sort?
Sure. So first, to cover the whale side is understanding that there are whales in the space, and there's always good and bad players, but it's having plans and having the foresight to know that will occur, but how to handle that the best. And we will actually be having an article come out shortly, and that would go over all of our features, one of those being the whale tax aspect, where if you own this total amount of tokens here, above a certain percentage, there is the baseline fee, and that fee is for everyone. But if you own a certain percent, that will have a very large impact on the protocol. Above all else is the safety and health of our protocol. So we will have inbuilt taxes that are higher to a much larger extent if you own a much larger percent of our total supply of tokens. So things like that, we truly have a planned execution for, and you will be seeing that article very shortly here in a lot of places. So you'll have some insight into that whale tax feature. But we really have that to really protect ourselves from people manipulating and holding too much of our token.
Gotcha. Makes sense to me. I love it. So we talked a little bit about the time frame of 100 days, but where do you guys see your own project in 100 days after launch, and even farther than that, a year down the line? Do you plan to stick with the same sort of model that you have now, or follow in the shadow a little bit of Titano and their decision making, or do you plan to be more of a fluid protocols? As we see oftentimes in the DeFi space, products change dramatically in the span of 1, 2, 3, 4 months. What do you guys see as sort of your long-term underpinning sort of driving goal as far as keeping up to date with competing markets and other forks in the long term?
That's an amazing question, because the catch with crypto is, as we know, one day in the crypto world is a week in the real world. Everything moves at hyperspeed and is a 24/7, 365-day market. And with that comes the uptick of projects don't last very long. They have a vision, they have hype, and they have their driving factors, but everything dies after a certain amount of time, at least for the most part throughout our history of crypto. But that's where our ecosystem comes into place. Let's have a core project that makes sense and has a lot of our base values that we believe are really strong and essential in this space. But let's not let that define us. To cover your point of what we have in the first 100 days, as I mentioned, is we want to take time to roll out all of our features to make sure they're truly secure and one of a kind. And that's why some of our features, we keep it close to our vest, and we'll have things on our roadmap that says like new protocol rollout, because we don't want to give too much information. We really want to be the innovators in this space and bring Web3 to the capacities that it can, and crypto to the masses that it can be. But the basis of it all is, let's not just do one thing and have that be it. Let's innovate, and let's keep innovating. We like to call ourselves the 100 Days Innovation Labs, because we believe that this is just the beginning. This is where it all starts. We're going to have several projects, all with several missions, and all kind of tackling is, what is the problem that we see in space, what works and what doesn't, and how can we take our own swing at it to innovate on it and improve that dynamic. But we are going to be here for a long time. This is not a one project and that's that. This is an ecosystem and an umbrella of projects, much beyond this core project.
Beautiful. I love it. Absolutely. Excellent answer. At this point, we're coming into that 30-minute mark here. So if anybody wants to come up and raise their hand and ask a question, now would be the ideal time to do that. But if no one comes up here in the next moment or two, I'll have you guys close out. And look at that. Teachers, the man with excellent questions all the time. Love this guy.
And I just want to take the time to thank your audience for being here and you hosting us today. It truly means a lot to us. And truly, guys, any question you guys have, feel free to ask. We really are here to answer anything and everything.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Sure
Well,
can.
thanks for coming, guys. I guess I have two kind of questions, or maybe they're the same question. But if you were to give, I mean, you kind of just did this in your answer that you just gave, but if you were to give like an elevator pitch for, what this product is, like, is it an actual like software product? Is it a like super well designed in DeFi? Or is it like the team? Like the team is the product, and you were just like investing in your team. Like, which of those things is it? And then I guess my second follow-up question related to that is, often these things, especially with like reflections tokens and stuff, there's a bunch of hype built up. Things go great, and then when there's a little sign of like, oh, it's not, mooning or whatever, people just like cut and run. What do you have in place, or what's your thinking around that kind of problem? Is it like a slow growth so that doesn't happen, or is it you have mitigations? I mean, just surrounding that kind of like elevator pitch, what would you say to someone who kind of looks at a lot of reflections projects and a lot of teams? What's the, good pitch?
Sure. So first, to start with the elevator pitch part, our core project is an auto staking protocol that looks to be one of the most simplistic projects in the space. But the true thing of us is you're investing in a team and in an ecosystem of projects. Astro Token here will translate to many perks and many benefits in our other protocols that we launch. Everything will have intrinsic value all throughout our ecosystem. This will be our first kind of scope into the space in terms of a true product with this team, but there will be a lot of cross-platform and cross-ecosystem projects, all with incentives for holding the Astro token. But truly, we want to send the message of you are betting in a team, you are betting in a reputation that we have, and you are betting on the Astro 100 Days ecosystem. It is a lot more than just this core project. We will do a lot of innovations on this project, and you will see that because we try to lead by execution and not just theory, but you are betting on a skilled and qualified team to really do something different in this space.
I want to add to that too. The basic elevator pitch that I've been giving is like 100 Days is an up and coming income generating ecosystem on the Avalanche, or some people just know it as AVAX blockchain. And basically we aim to bring strategic utility and value to the Astro token, like you were just hearing, through an intentional cash flow model backed by investments, tokenomics, art, and new protocol innovation. So like if you had to give a quick 2-second elevator pitch or whatever, that would probably be it.
Beautiful. Good questions, teachers.
Cool, thanks. Go ahead.
All right, so last question here from our AMA questions tab, and it's a good thing to sort of address the elephant in the room. I'm sure everyone in your team is familiar with Sphere Finance over on the BSC network. Do you guys have any plans to implement a strategy kind of like their quantum liquidity as a service? It's a win-win sort of situation. It helps to stabilize the project while making use of other stagnant liquidity.
I think you mean the Polygon ecosystem. That's
I'm so
name.
sorry. I keep thinking BSC. I hate Polygon so much I refuse to believe it exists. So.
Oh my goodness! Why? No, we'll get to that later. I started with Polygon. I'll always have a little bit of attachment to Polygon, Polycat, all those days with Fish and Paul, all that stuff. So people know Iron Finance and that whole debacle. People know what I'm talking about from that time period.
So I'm telling you, it's Polygon, man.
It's funny thing, and it came out in another AMA, but we're not hiding it. Like I mentioned Metaverse Pro. I'm sorry to keep name dropping that one, but from that, me and Sim Sala actually worked together on that team, and so I kind of spun off and came here. He spun off and developed Sphere, and obviously he's been killing it. And we're well aware of the quantum liquidity as a service. I think we're mulling over the idea with the team, as well as like trying to get our own project, kind of ready to go guns blazing as soon as pre-sale and then subsequently launch is ready. So we don't have a definitive answer on that. Sim would be the first to know. I talk to him a lot, so outside of our team. So not sure, but well aware of it. Say that much.
Excellent.
The core being here is that we have a lot of ideas that are of our own here, and right now that is our core focus. But understanding that quantum liquidity is a very cool model, it's a working model, and that when an implementation happens there, it will happen with time. But right now our focus is our roadmap and our core features that we believe innovate on the core markers outlined.
Gotcha. Makes total sense, guys. So as we come into the close here, what would be your final remarks, your end all be all takeaway, if you had a 30-second pitch for why you should be involved with 100 Days?
I think we should go down the line. So go ahead, Arch, take that.
Sure. Being in 100 Days to us is really being part of our ecosystem, being a part of our team. All of our investors, if you notice the way Daryl manages our community, is truly any and every question we have, we address it. You DM us, you message us, we get back to you. That is a thorough model that we have on the community side. So you are betting on people that truly have the investors' intentions at heart. We lead by education, and we lead by really having formal processes that we make sure to keep very, very high in our values. We have core values and we stick by them. We are innovators in this space, but this Astro token will be a lot more than what it seems at surface level right now.
And maybe to piggyback off of that, I think the other component that's critical that you'll also find in our communication and what Daryl puts forth is we're big on communication and education. And that's something that we feel is also amiss in some of the projects that even we feel are fantastic. So you'll see a lot of that from our team as it pertains to how to properly invest, what you should have from a realistic expectation perspective. There's tons of rapid staking protocols out there, and have fun with those. We do most time. But it's big for us that we start to utilize our platform as an education arm as well for folks who are looking into, scaling long-term, generating long-term wealth and growth for themselves, and how to properly take profits. Stick with the project for a year. You'll be surprised.
And I think for me, I really don't ask for much more than to take us at the effort and face value that you see, the genuineness that you hear coming from us. I encourage everyone, only because there's a 10-minute timer on being able to enter the full Discord chat. I encourage you to enter our Discord and take a look at how it's set up. I mean, that alone speaks volume from, Discord digital tour and ways in which to manage your Discord and helpful tips and tricks there to clear, transparent answers and ways to go about navigating through the server. And take a look at our Gitbook as well, too. If you've done that and spent 20, 30 minutes looking into us and you're not thoroughly impressed with what we put out there, then by all means, we didn't do enough for you. But I can stand by the amount of work that we put in and the amount that is front end facing and displaying is enough to at least cause you some intrigue to continue to look into us further. And I got a fantastic article that I'm wrapping up now that will be out tomorrow. So, read that, check that out, and that's going to give even more detail to go with. So there's that little extra alpha as we promised.
Excellent, guys.
Yeah, and also be sure to check us out on Twitter, join our Discord, and follow along our journey here as we do some things in the DeFi space. But please join us for our pre-sale on April 15th.
All righty. Well, thank you so much. Again, I'm Mascot. We've been here with Riddick, the founder of Node Nation.
Awesome, man.
And big thanks to the Node Nation community and the 100 Days community for coming out and spending some time here with us to listen and answer some questions and really just spread overall awareness of your guys' really exciting project. I'm really
that was awesome, you guys.
Do. So we hope to have you back, and We appreciate you coming. Thank
I
you so
really-
much.
Thank you very much for having us. We really appreciate it.